Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Brynka Beacon. We're starting our six-part webinar series, Get a Grip on Your Organization. I'm Jennifer Young, your host of the Brynka Beacon, and we're going to go ahead and get started. It's right at 3 o'clock here. So the Brynka Beacon, for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, is a forum that we provide free of charge for sharing ideas. So we invite you to listen, learn, and participate. So if at any point today you have a question, you have a comment about something that's being said, please feel free to go ahead and use that chat and go ahead and throw any questions or comments in there. We also have the Zoom features you can use, raising your hands and different emotions. Feel free to use those as well. And we're going to get started here. So today's presenters, we have first up Brenda Fick. She is the president and founder of Brynka. She's been serving our industry and in leadership for over 30 years. We also have Denise Haney, who's going to be joining us via video today. She's a professional EOS implementer with EOS Worldwide, where she works with owners and leadership teams to clarify their vision so that they can experience traction, which is the process of getting it done, and form healthy and cohesive leadership teams. And then we also have Peggy Smith, who is with Brynka, but spent 34 years managing at Washington University at St. Louis, where her department serviced over 20,000 employees and 5,000 students. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jen, for that. I just wanted to first say thank you to everyone that is joining us. The six-part webinar series I put into place because last year we decided to work with Denise and really get a good understanding and grip on our business. It's been around for many, many years, but I just wanted to use the EOS system. And by doing so, there's a lot of aspects of the system that I think would be beneficial for our customers as well as all of our business partners. So February 16th, we had the leadership at every level. Again, you could get any of these webinars even after today on our website. And today we are going to do, we're only as good as our people. We're going to really dive into look at how you're hiring, how you're firing, how you're working with the people that you have, making sure they're in the right seats. And a lot of this information may be new to you, but I hope by the end, you'll really be able to understand the people component. The next one will be June 8th, which is core values that mean something. What gets measured gets improved, August 8th, motivating your team, October 12th. And then at the end, kind of setting yourself up with all of these different aspects of EOS to help you grow your organization, your department for 2024. So the first thing I have to do is, the first thing we're going to do is a poll just to see who's out there. And the poll is, how many people do you lead within your department or departments? So let's bring up the poll. So, wow, it's pretty diverse. We have a lot of different answers.
Yes, so we have 27% manage 1 to 5 people, 27% manage 6 to 10, 18% manage 11 to 20, and 27% manage over 21 people.
That's fantastic. So the nice thing is it's a nice group of leaders that are on this that have different amounts of people that they manage. So the next thing I need to kind of apologize. Denise was supposed to be here and live, but She has, her and I recorded a lot of this information that we would talk about on the webinar. So we're going to start that by doing, going over the first piece in the webinar.
Hi, Brenda. Thanks for allowing me to be here today. I'm sorry I couldn't be live, so I think it's great that we had this opportunity to really record a few mini sessions so that we can get it out to your people and your audience. So super excited about it. Today we're talking about part 2 in the Brynka Beacon series. Really, we're only as good as our people. I'm going to give you just a high level overview, right? Because a lot of these concepts come from EOS, which is a business operating system. But we can take a lot of these concepts, and Brenda really thought that you can apply it in your specific department. So that's why we're bringing you bits and pieces. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper, but I do want to give you that high level overview of really where some of these concepts are coming from. So EOS is a business operating system. And what that means is, it's the system that defines how a company operates. It was really built for small and mid-sized businesses, knowing that in these smaller organizations, we're all really wearing multiple hats, but there is a way to drive accountability and get, execution on our business goals. So it is a set of real world practical tools and timeless concepts. A lot of these things that you're going to hear, there's nothing new about them. There's not any, magic pills or silver bullets that I'm going to share. But if you use them in the very simple tools that EOS provides, I think it'll make a tremendous difference in your department. So really, these tools allow you to orchestrate all of those moving parts in your departments and really align the human energy. Now, EOS was built on the concept that really within an organization or within a department, right, you are struggling with probably over 100 issues simultaneously, and that can get extremely overwhelming. But we have this discovery that if you can just really strengthen 6 key components in your organization, all of those obstacles and issues that you're facing day in and day out really will start to take care of themselves because they're just symptoms of a root cause. So I'm going to walk you through the EOS model at a high level and introduce you to those 6 key components, because what that will do is it'll show you in this 6-part series, really, we're going to start to dive in deeper into some of these key components. Today, we're going to spend a little bit more time in that people component, but just so you have a high level overview, I'll walk you through each one of those 6 key components. So the vision component is all about getting everyone on the same page in the organization, where you're going and how you plan to get there. Then that people component is all about making sure that you have all the right people in the right seats, because we know you're not able to achieve a vision unless you have great people. It comes down to people, right? So today I'll share some of those concepts, some of those tools, so that you are getting the most out of your people. The third key component is that data component, boiling your business down to good, solid, hard data so that we're making great business decisions. And I think it's the 4th part of our series that Brenda is bringing to us. We're really going to dive into a little bit more what those scorecards and measurables are, because we know that what gets measured gets improved. So we'll take some time later in this series to dive into the data component. The 4th key component is issues. This is all about getting those issues that come up, solving them at the root, and then making them go away for the greater good of the organization. So all of the decisions that we make going forward should be for the greater good, right? So that we're aligning towards that vision, and not just for an individual, what's best for me, but ultimately what's good for that entire organization. The 5th key component, process. This is all about getting the most important things in your business done the right and best way every single time. This is where you'll start to see scalability and consistency. You'll be able to execute more efficiently and productively, right? So profits will go up, results will be better and quicker. And then last but not least, that sixth key component is traction. This is the execution phase. So we're bringing that vision down to the ground and actually able to execute on it better and more efficiently, but it's throughout the entire organization. So every member of your department is clear on what their part or role is in helping your organization and your department meet its, annual goals and your quarterly goals as well. So that's the EOS model, high level overview. When you're running on EOS with my help, like Brenda brought me in, right? We really want to get you to get stronger in each one of these six key components. Brenda, did you have anything you wanted to share there, or should I just keep on going?
You're doing good. Keep on going.
All right, great. Thanks. So if you had a chance to join Brenda and Peggy in that first part of the series, right, you learned about the different types of leadership styles and what it takes to be a great leader. And our job as a leader is to create that environment where accountable people thrive. So we do need to give them the right tools and make sure, like, it's our ultimate responsibility to make sure that they're really clear. They have clarity on what they're responsible for, what we'll be measuring and managing them based on. And we're going to dive a little deeper in that today. If you didn't get a chance to join us for the first part in that series, you can go visit Brynka.com. Go to their website, look up the latest information. You want to look for the Brynka Beacon, and the recording is available. So I highly recommend, if you missed that first part in the series, make sure you take a look at it. There was so much valuable information in there on how to become an effective leader. So as I mentioned, today, we're going to focus on that people component in the organization. So your university and department is really only as good as your people. The first concept we'll be learning is something we call right people. So right people, what does that exactly mean? It means that they're aligned with your values. So the right people are the ones who share your university's core values. They fit and thrive in your culture. They are people you enjoy being around and who make your organization a better place to be, right? So in EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, having core values is important because they provide a clear and consistent set of guiding principles that really define the organization's culture and guide decision making at all levels. Right? So the core values are really the fundamental beliefs and principles that an organization stands for and upholds. And when we have those clear core values, we make sure that our people are aligned and everyone in the organization is aligned around that common purpose, vision, and set of principles. If you don't have core values yet for your university, or you're just not sure if they're the right ones, you'll definitely want to join us for part 3 of the series, right? Because that's where we're going to take a deeper dive into your core values so that your university really is clear on what are the core values, how should we be aligning and driving all of our people, making sure that they can support us in our overall objectives.
Thank you, Denise. So we're going to stop the video for now, and we're going to talk a little bit about core values and what Brynka set up for its core values. We'll be back with you in a little bit, Denise.
Great, thank you.
So up on the screen is Brynka's core values: customer-centric, do the right thing, go the extra mile. And we took pretty much almost a whole day of thinking about our core values. And you really want to have between 3 and 5 core values that everyone knows, works on, you hire, you fire. So what I wanted to do, again, our next meeting will be core values, but I thought if everyone can put in the chat what their core values are, if they have any core values, if they've worked out any core values, just put it in the chat. And so we can kind of look at what others have as far as what they do within their universities. If you have any core values whatsoever, just throw it in the chat so that other people can see kind of any others. We have excellent, we have respect, dedication, people first. More do the right thing. So again, this one component, as far as the core values, we are going to go over. Please don't miss that next presentation, and we'll talk about it again later on. So Todd, I think we're going to go back to Denise and talk more about, once we have core values, we really start working on with the people. So let's go ahead on to working with Denise again.
All right, great. So we're back. If you have clearly defined your core values, you can determine if someone is a right person for your organization by using a simple tool we call the People Analyzer. So the way the People Analyzer works is you use all of those core values that we just defined, and we start to list them across the top of the People Analyzer. The core values that I'm using now as an example are the ones that I, as EOS Worldwide, these are the core values that we consistently display. So we take your core values, you would substitute your own individual core values for your university. In Brynka's case, they would, they use their core values that Brenda just shared with you. And then what you do is you list all of your people in your organization or in your department. If you're just doing this at a departmental level, you list them down the column on the left. Then the next thing that we do, we rate each person based on how well they live or don't live by each one of these core values, and base your ratings on personal observation of their behavior. Okay, so in addition, take into account feedback from your peers. So for each core value, you'll give each person one of three ratings: a plus, plus minus, or minus. So here's the definition for each one of these. So a plus really means that they live this core value most of the time. No one's perfect, so we're not going to say all of the time, right? But most of the time they display that core value. A minus means that most of the time they do not live that core value. So very rarely do they display this core value. And then a plus minus means that sometimes they do, sometimes they don't live that core value. So you go through each one of the people, you rate them on how effective or how consistently they display that core value using this very simple rating system. So as you can see here, right, it creates this very useful assessment. You'll be able to, if you're completely open and honest with yourself when evaluating your people, you really will be able to determine whether or not, or assess whether or not, black or white, they are a good fit for your organization. So in this case, Joanne, right, she's all pluses, right? So she is the right person for this organization. She's completely aligned with our core values. Nadia, fit? she's really not there, right? She's got 3 minuses, so she really is not a great fit. And Lil Betterman, she just needs a little bit of coaching and then she's right there. So what we do is we set a bar for our organization. And what that means is that any person inside our organization or department, if we're using these core values correctly, they need to be at or above this bar. So in this case, if we have 5 core values, we really suggest that 3 pluses and 2 plus minuses are acceptable. Nothing below that, that's below the bar. They're really not a fit for our organization, or we need to have some serious conversations around them to get them back in line. But in our case, Nadja fit. We really wouldn't take the time. She's just not a fit, and quite frankly, she probably isn't super happy in our organization as well. But really less is more, right? We think that 3 to 5 are the max. Brenda, did you want to share any of your experiences that you had with this people analyzer?
So I remember clearly we had our leadership team and we went through everyone within our organization. And the good news is that because we already do hire based on what their core values are, and what we do is we give a list of 10 core values and we have them rate them 1 to 10. And if they do not fit within our core values, then they're not a good fit for the Brynka team. So all of the people within our organization actually fit our core values, which is I was very happy about, because obviously you don't want to let anyone go. But if you start that with just hiring, you're going to make sure that you have the right fit for your organization.
Absolutely. Such a great point too. And it makes the session a little less awkward, right? So if we have all these core values and we have a group of people on the leadership team and they're not displaying our core values, there's really no way we can go back to the rest of our organization and say, hey, you need to live up to these core values. And they're kind of looking at us like, well, you're not walking the talk. How on earth are we supposed to measure up to these things? So yeah, you have a great team and you really had your core values dialed in. So it was a lot of fun. So if your organization is running on EOS, we use this people analyzer, like, I told Brenda and her team, right? We want to make sure that we are having quarterly conversations with all of our people. So anyone in your department, all of your direct reports, you really should be using something like this people analyzer so that you can have those quarterly conversations with them. It's very casual. It's not an annual review, but it's just a conversation to really give them the chance to know where they're like exceeding expectations and where they may be falling short. We can, if we have our core values really dialed in, right, we can have conversations around them and give them examples of like, hey, this really didn't fit our core value. This is really how we can make some improvements to make sure that we're aligned. We're making, like, all of our people are making decisions that are aligned with core values, because when they're aligned with our core values, we can start to let our grip go a little bit. We know that they're going to be successful at their job because they are making decisions as if we would be making them, right? That's how dialed in our core values really need to be. So quarterly conversations, two-way conversation, meaning, what's working, what's not working. We also get feedback from them based on their perspective. What is working? What's not working? What else do they need to do their job and do it really well? So we use the people analyzer, like I said. Great way to have effective, clear communication. What's working, what's not working, where are the areas for improvement? And it's just such a clear way to start those conversations. Anything else before we stop this part of the recording here, Brenda? Anything you want to add?
No, just that this is really a key piece of the puzzle, because the value that you have within the business, if your people do not align with your values, then it could truly be destructive, because especially when you're looking at service, when you're looking at the operations, if they don't align with, for example, with Brynka, customer first or go the extra mile, if they don't align with that or don't agree with that, then you're going to have an issue with your customers, which you never want to have. So having those key core values is really the best way to just look at the people, and the people analyzer will really help you with that. Yes. So thank you again, Denise, and we will talk again in just a little bit.
Absolutely.
So one of the key components when you're also looking at your people is the leadership. So I put into this presentation one key way to look at your people, and it's an exercise I do quite frequently with different trade shows. And every time I do this at any trade show, they absolutely love it. And the nice thing about it is that you really don't need much. You need a poster board, a magic marker, some tape, and yarn. And the reason that you need tape is you need to tape the poster board to the table, because I didn't use tape once and the table went all over, or the poster board went all over, so it wasn't good. But I'd like to show you what we do of looking at our organization, looking at the people, and who is leading and who is following. And both are very, very important, because you can't have all leaders. You need to have those that'll follow. So this is a very nice tool that I use, and you can use as well. So I wanted to give you this information. So let's see how the Brynka team went.
Yeah, little circles. Oh, well, right, 2 windows. Okay. Yeah, 4 windows on the house. It's a bungalow. Say shrub. You shrub, it could be a window. Okay, next. Yeah, we need to.
So as you can see, there was definitely one of my leaders and with Brynka that actually led this one exercise. And the exercise is literally you give each person a string, you tape that string around the magic marker, and literally you ask them to build a house. So it is very, very difficult to coordinate multiple people working on this one magic marker and a lot of the string. But it's a really good exercise, and there's little or no cost to it, where you can really see how your people work together, how they follow, and how they lead. So I'm hoping that everyone can try something like this, or now, and I apologize, our chat wasn't working. So if there's anyone that does anything unique to kind of look at leaders and followers or anything like that, put in the chat. We'd love to hear about what you do. And meanwhile, we're going to go to the next slide, the next video, and we'll come back after that.
All right, so now we are back to the second discipline in that people component, which is right seat. So being in the right seat really just means that an employee is in a role that is well defined and suited to their strengths and skills and abilities. So when an employee is in the right seat, they're able to perform their job duties effectively and contribute to the organization's success. They're able to execute well and hit all of their quarterly goals. So being in the right seat is really important, right? It helps ensure that the organization is making the most of each employee's talents and abilities. To make sure that we get all the right people in the right seats, we need to take the structure first, people second approach. So Brenda, do you want to talk a little bit about this structure first, people second approach?
Yeah, this was really hard for the Brynka leadership team, as well as me. Most of our employees have been around for 20 years. They've been doing the same job for that long. So just taking people out of this component and looking at our structure it was very difficult for us. But ultimately, I realized that if there is a missing piece in the future, that having that structure and understanding the people second is a huge advantage to make sure that there's not just one person that knows a lot. And if that person goes away, then there's nobody backing them up. So this is really, really important.
Yeah, I call those like unicorn positions. And what that means is like we start to develop the structure of our organization around people's unique skill set, right? So all of a sudden we've built out their seat in their specific roles because, they may be this superstar employee that has all of these like oddly strange skill sets that really don't align. So all of a sudden, we start throwing things at them and saying, oh, they can take care of it because they have such a unique skill set. But what ends up happening, like you mentioned, if that person happens to leave and we design the structure based on that, like on the people that we have, instead of really just looking at the structure of what should that solid structure look like, that person leaves and then all of a sudden our structure is broken, right? And then we're trying to find this unicorn to fill that position and they're just not out there. And then, we create so much dysfunction. So that's why when, we start to work together and identify what the structure needs to look like for the organization and the departments, we really need to have temporary amnesia. And that's what I always say. Give yourself the gift of temporary amnesia. Don't bring emotion into the decision making when you create the structure. We can't look at our current people. We really just need to figure out, what does our department need to look like? What does our organization need to look like to get to that next level? So, what we're going to do next is dive into, I'm going to take that approach. I'm going to show you what an accountability chart would look like for an organization. And then Brenda's going to be able to help you apply what I'm teaching you to your specific department at that departmental level. Does that sound fair? So does that sound good, Brenda?
I like it. Sounds good.
All right, let's do it. So the accountability chart, it's the tool that EOS uses, making sure that you have the right structure for your department or organization. We make sure that we have all the right people. We've just defined who the right people are. Now we need to make sure that they're in the right seat. When we use the accountability chart, it's really based on the belief that there are only 3 major functions in every organization. So a marketing and sales function, right? They go out, they generate interest, they turn that interest into a lead or a sale. There's an operation function, which really delivers a product or service or both, and a finance function. And this is really tracking money flowing in and out of the organization. 3 major functions. Every single one of these functions needs to be strong. In EOS, when you're running on EOS, there's a 4th major function called the integrator. And the integrator is really just the person who harmoniously orchestrates the way all of these major functions work throughout the organization, right? So they are driving the way the whole leadership team is really functioning for the greater good, right? They're executing on that business plan, or in the very beginning when we talked about leadership, right? They're executing, making sure that we are executing on the vision of the whole organization or of your department. Now, I just want to introduce a 5th major function called called the visionary. Okay, the visionary is that big picture thinker, typically the founder of an organization, but they're the high level, right? They really are thinking and working on the business. It's that strategic thinking, what needs to come next. They are working with they're the one developing those bigger relationships, but usually at that high level. They rely on that integrator to really execute on his or her vision, right? So two very different roles at that leadership level. So visionary and integrator. Then what we need to do, we use the accountability chart to create and identify what are the major roles? What is each person in this seat accountable for, right? This is what helps us drive that accountability in our departments, making sure that everybody is clear on what they're responsible for executing on and what they're going to be measured and managed on. So again, 5 major roles. We're going to get to that in a couple minutes, what that actually looks like. Again, we create 5 major roles for that visionary and integrator because they are very different. And if everybody is really clear on what they are supposed to be doing day in and day out, we are going to really be able to execute and be way more efficient and productive. The one rule we have is 1 person per seat, because when 2 people are accountable, then nobody's accountable, right? So that's why this accountability chart not only defines the right structure, but it also gives clarity to each person on, hey, what am I really supposed to be doing? They can't meet or exceed expectations if there's no clarity on really what their role is. This is just an example of what that accountability chart kind of looks like, filled in with some of the major roles, because there are, sometimes we have some questions about what does it actually look like. So these are just some examples. This is the basic structure. Remember in the beginning, I said the basic belief that there's just 3 major functions. We understand that every organization is unique. So you can structure that leadership level however it needs to look to support your organization. So this is an example of an accountability chart for a SaaS company, a software as a service company. So you can see instead of just 3 functions, they've broken some of the seats out so that it can support the direction and the amount of growth that they want to have 6 to 12 months out. So this is always forward looking. Anything to any comments you have at all, Brenda, or should I keep going?
So when I first read the book Traction, I actually read the book probably it was in between 2015 and 2016. And when I read about the integrator, I was kind of like, who is our integrator? And it's interesting because the integrator is someone that knows about your department, everything about your department. And you may be over multiple departments, but the integrator is the one that helps really facilitate everything that is needed within each of the departments, knows it all, understands it all. And it's that right seat is crucial to you being able to provide just the necessary support as a leader. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'm actually going to bring Peggy in, and Peggy's been in this industry for auxiliary services for many years, and she's held multiple positions and has many departments and she had an integrator as well. So we're going to dive in a little bit in a little bit so you can see how that works.
Great. Yeah, I think that's going to be so helpful for your audience. So I just want to take a few minutes just to give you that overall concept, right? So at a departmental level, how do you create a right seat? So a seat is really just a function that reports directly to you. What makes it a seat is that you have defined exactly what you expect from that person and who is going to fill it. So each seat has about 5 major roles, as I mentioned before, that summarizes at a high level the accountability or job description for the seat. And like I said, if you're not particularly clear, if you're not clear on what each function is and what the major roles are, right? So in one sentence, you should be able to tell your direct reports what is the purpose of their seat and what results are they expected to achieve in one sentence. It's difficult. Try it. Look at your accountability chart or look at somebody in your organization. If you're not able to do that as their leader or their manager, how do we expect them to meet or exceed if we can't even summarize it, right? So that's what this helps us go through. So the first thing is to define a seat, really just identify that function. We don't use titles because that automatically brings in ego. So in EOS, when we talk about an accountability chart, it differs a little bit from an org chart because there aren't titles, just functions, right? Just major functions of the business. Next, what we do, we list those 5 major roles. Again, we are keeping them simple. These are not a laundry list of tasks or activities, right? So in this case, less is more. You can absolutely take this seat and the 5 major functions that we've identified and create a job description, which would list the basic tasks to achieve that major role. Are we on the same page with that? So less is more, high level. And then the last thing we do is put a name in that seat. Remember, structure first, people second. So we always put the name last, making sure that we aren't basing or creating a function or a seat in the accountability chart based on somebody that we have in our mind. So really, the objective here is to create that absolute clarity for each direct report about where they should focus their activities and what their most what their most important responsibilities are, right? This also considers, you should also consider adding any tasks or things that you need to start to get off of your plate, right? So you're able to start to delegate and elevate, free up more time for yourself, because the higher you are in an accountability chart, the more important your leadership and management roles become. I have just one example of what marketing and sales would look like in that leadership level. Then I'm going to stop the recording because Brenda and Peggy are going to be able to help you apply the same concept specific to your role in the department. So here's just marketing and sales. You can see high level. It's all about high level, right? Not a list of job specific tasks. So LMA just stands for lead, manage, drive accountability. That means anything that you need to do in your department to train your people, hire your people, review them, make sure that you're driving the accountability. That's a major role, LMA. Then marketing, hit the sales numbers, sell, and account management. So again, this is how high level we want to be.
So once again, Denise, thank you very much for giving us that right seat information. So once again, Peggy and I are going to go through what you may look at within your department and picking those right seats and the roles according to that. So Denise, we'll be right back after we have some fun time with our audience. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
All right. Brenda, you want me to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, so Peg and I were looking at, as far as the university, and trying to incorporate basically what the functions are and the roles with that. So Peggy, you want to go over?
Sure. So again, what I was able to draw from, I just wanted to say hello also to everyone. Since a lot of the folks on the call are from universities, so wanted to identify some of those roles. What I really like, some of the things that I've learned from Denise and the EOS, I really like the delegate and elevate, and really looking at individual functions. And in a university setting, the visionary is the chancellor. And then listed here are some of the things that we would see a chancellor within in a university. Like a CEO of a corporation, but a CEO, chief executive officer of a university, which he or she is governed by board of directors. The overall quality control and the effectiveness of all programs, students, faculty, staff, even medical and research, if there's a medical facility. Establish the culture, as Denise talked about. Compliance. And the integrator in our case most often would be a director or a vice president, who would shape and ensure that policies, and I had a little trouble just finding a single word. So I added to that a little bit, but this is a new concept for me as well, to develop and implement functions and programs, control the budget decisions, and be able to mediate and the oversight or oversee everything that we would do in operations, for instance. But as many managers in the mailing industry, in the mailing world, or in auxiliary services, we have some of these functions and these roles under us. Again, it's important to think about functions, not the title and not the people. And for instance, under sales and marketing in a university setting, that person's role would be to investigate the educational market. How is the market in the industry compared with your institution? Understand the industry trends and the impact that that might have on your organization. The recruiting tools and looking at new products, looking at the customers that make up your university. That's including the professors, the faculty, every staff member, and students that may be in that environment. Operations, which I would imagine many of the attendees on this call fall under this category. It's being able to oversee, optimal quality services. Operations is service driven, customer driven. But you need to make sure that you comply with the organizational structure and the policies that your integrator and your visionary puts upon each department. You also have to make sure you have good internal controls and you ensure accountability and oversee the financial function, the operation, and of course, HR matters. And finally, all of us probably have some sort of finance role or function to maintain financial reports and budgets. You need to be able to forecast in the immediate future, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. You need to be able to manage those operational plans and those budgets. Finance would have the treasury, the management responsibility, the compliance, and of course, the financial oversight of all university budgets. So Brynka, is there anything else that you would like to add, or I would just like to ask our attendees if you have anything to add, if this applies to you and how you might be able to utilize this accountability chart and the EOS concepts within your operation.
So again, this whole concept is really used for business, but I'm taking little bits and pieces of it to be used for our customers and our business partners. Now, even though you may have just a department that you are working on. The other thing that you can do is even work with your leadership and maybe even above that leadership, and make sure that, you know, all the functions kind of work together. You work with your manager may have other departments. So if everybody's working together on this function, if you need help, if there's a role that you really need that maybe another department has, you can work together. I mean, and that is kind of what we discovered. There were certain aspects and roles that we realized within our within our organization that, you know, we thought they would fit here, but actually they fit here better. And it's a better seat for them, and they would like it a lot better. Because that's the next thing, and that's the next role and that we're going to look at in the people process. So Todd, we want to go to the next video, please.
All right, we're back again. So now that you have all of your seats defined, you're now ready to assess whether or not your people are in the right seat. Do they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it, right? That is what we call GWC for short. So gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to do it. There's really no maybes. Let's talk about GWC in more detail. You need to ask yourself, are each one of my people in the right seats? If they're not, you're going to be frustrated. They're going to be frustrated. And as a result, you'll never be able to completely delegate and elevate, right? You're always going to be forced to do their work. You're not going to be able to, what we call, let go of the vine, because you're going to always hesitate, feeling like they're not going to pick up the ball and run with it. They're not going to see it through to completion. So we really need to make sure that they GWC their seat. So in order for someone to be in the right seat, to step up, ultimately fill that opening you've created, they have to get it, want it, have the capacity to do it. If any one of these three is a no, it's never going to happen. 99% of the time, that's the truth. So now what we can do, we can go back to that people analyzer that we talked about a little bit earlier. We're going to add GWC to the top, right next to those core values. And then we're going to do the same thing. So for every single person, we're going to assess whether or not they get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it. So do they get it? Do they really understand exactly what the role is all about? They have that aptitude, right? That God-given talent. They actually get it. Do they want it? Meaning they're jumping out of bed every day. They're super excited to do their job and to do it really well. Like for me, I love being an implementer. I barely sleep the night before because I am so excited. I cannot wait to help leadership teams really run a better business, ultimately live that better life, right? I get to help Brenda be like, hopefully less overwhelmed so that she can go home. She gets to be a better person when she's at home, right? She gets to be a better community leader. She's maybe a better spouse or a parent, whatever that looks like. But that's why this is so very important, that the work that I do. I got off track. Sorry, I get a little excited. So that means like I want it, right? I'm jumping out of my bed, excited to do it. And then capacity is that, you know, they have that mental ability. They really have the skill set. You know, you bring in experience. So it's that capacity. Sometimes time isn't so much involved. Like if we feel like, you know, just with a little bit of coaching or additional resources, they can get to that capacity. Then if you're willing to, you know, invest the time and resources and energy into a person to get their capacity levels up, then we say, you know, absolutely go for it. But the other ones are basically non-negotiable. You know, if they just don't get it, they most likely never will. And then when it comes to wants it, if that's a no, you can't pay a person enough to want it. You can't just give them, you know, a new shiny, you know, job title or something, that wears, right? Even a raise. And I'm sure you've probably experienced it either yourself, like you just weren't super happy with what you were doing anymore. Your boss maybe threw you a couple bucks or gave you a little bit of a promotion. But after you've done it for a little bit, you know, ultimately you're just not satisfied. So that's why we say you truly have to want your job. And then again, that capacity, you know, if you can give your people some additional resources, then that's a little bit negotiable. But ultimately, we want to see all yeses and gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to do it. So once we've really defined that accountability chart, right, the whole accountability chart, we've built it out top to bottom. So just to recap, we determined all the seats reporting to you, the ones that are critical to your department or organizational functionality and growth. It's not necessarily what it looks like today, but rather what it must look like in 6 to 12 months out to meet your goals, right? So the accountability chart when we're building it is always forward facing. We forget about the past. We forget about the people, right? Temporary amnesia, don't forget about that. So as a manager, one of your most important roles is to build the best team possible to achieve your departmental goals. So that's why we tell you, you absolutely forget about people, think about structure first. Identify the function, right? We do function first, then we identify those 5 major roles for the seat. And then lastly is when we put a right person in the right seat. We then pull it together using GWC, right? We pull it together on the people analyzer. Do they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it? So ultimately, with the people analyzer, we can make sure that they're the right people, right? They consistently display our core values, and they're in the right seat because they get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it. So that's the people analyzer top to bottom. And it's also the accountability chart top to bottom, right? Making sure we have all the right people and we have the right seats identified for them. Now, people issues, right? Okay, so you're going to start to use these tools and you're going to encounter 2 types of people issues. Hate to say it, but it's going to happen. And when I start to explain these, chances are you're going to have already experienced some of them. So the first type of issue you're going to run into is right person, wrong seat. So the right person completely aligns with our core values. We absolutely love them. They may have been in your organization or your department forever. They tell the best jokes. They bring in the best snacks, right? We love these people, but they're in the wrong seat. They are not executing well. They are just not living up to the expectations needed to fulfill that job, right? Right person, wrong seat. I call them the lovable slacker because we love them. We love to be around them. You know, they're so much fun and they feed us really good, but we end up picking up all of their slack. And it's completely frustrating. And what happens is we start to see a lot of resentment building up. And all of a sudden, you start to lose some of your really good people. So as much as we hate to really address the right person, wrong seat, we are in a for-profit organization. We have specific goals that we need to meet as a manager, right? We have expectations put on us to make sure our department is performing. So we really do need to look at some of these right people, wrong seat people in our organization. The next type of person or people issue is wrong person, right seat. You've probably been exposed to this as well. So wrong person, they don't align with our core values, meaning they may be hitting all of their numbers. It's usually easy for me to pull in, let's think of a salesperson, right? Just the easiest way to give you an example of this. So they knock out of the park, they hit all of their revenue goals, but the way they're doing it is usually creating so much dysfunction that somebody else in the department, so let's say, you know, sales they're making all of these deals that don't align with any of our core values or the way we do it. They're not, I know that Brenda will probably be talking a little bit about core focus. So, they're making these deals, and then what's happening is all of the people in production or operations that need to fulfill on these deals that they're making, they have to scramble, and it's creating so much dysfunction and added work on them that they're getting frustrated, right? Or there are people, and I'm laughing a little bit because I'm not sure if Brenda's like, we've had a conversation.
So I do have to tell you, it's not within our organization, but I previously worked for a company, a business, and I was more on the operations side.
Yeah.
So when a person sold something, I was supposed to support, basically support it,
Yeah.
figure out what they were trying to sell, and make sure that the person sold the right thing. And this person did fantastic numbers.
Yeah.
Was always with the right numbers. But the problem is what they sold them, we didn't have. So
Right.
then it was, what do I do now? It was horrible.
Yeah, because they don't have to deal with the mess that they're creating, right? They're getting their check and off they go. They get their commission, and all of a sudden, everyone else is left picking up the pieces, right? So that's what I mean. They're hitting their numbers, but they're creating so much dysfunction the way they're doing it. Or, another example is if they're the wrong person in the right seat. They're in, you're creating, we've just identified, or we will be identifying, right? Part 3 of this series, those core values. They really need to mean something. And this is the person you're driving, you're creating this culture. You want everybody to be part of the organization and love being a part of it, right? This person is sitting in every meeting, they're sitting there, they're not open to anything you have to say, or they're rolling their eyes, or they're making those snide comments at the water cooler as soon as you walk out. Like, that is a wrong person. Even though they may be executing, they're doing their job, they're fulfilling everything that needs to happen, but they're killing your culture in ways you can't even see. So the wrong person in the right seat does way more harm than good, and you really need to address it sooner rather than later. So 2 kinds of people issues, right? The moment you feel like you have to tightly manage somebody, you've made a hiring mistake. Sorry, Brenda, I need to take a quick sip here.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't realize that there was an issue one time that I had someone in a role, and I was constantly managing, and it ended up where I let that person go. And the reason, and I didn't even understand, but when I let that person go, a lot of the other employees were very happy that I let this person go, because they were definitely hurting the rest of the business. So when you have to manage someone that you've put, especially in a leadership role, and they're not fulfilling what you need them to do, and you're managing them constantly, then you need to let go.
Yep. It's such a great point, right? And this really sums it up. When you continue to let issues go on without addressing it, who really suffers, right? You and the people on your team who are doing a great job. So when you have to tightly manage, you're taking attention away from all of your rock stars and superstars. And I don't care who you are or what level you're at in an organization, human nature craves appreciation and acknowledgement. And what ends up happening as a manager, you end up devoting so much of your time and attention to the people that are not doing a great job, taking it away from the people that deserve your time and attention. That's how you start to create this resentment in an organization. They all see it. Don't second guess it. They see it, and they don't understand why you as the leader or the manager aren't doing something about it. They are tired of picking up the ball. They're tired of picking up the slack. They want more and need more of your time and attention, which you can't give them because you're too busy having to tightly manage, right? So, at the end of the day, you have to address these, we call them RPRS problems, right person, right seat problems, right? You need to start to address them on a quarterly basis. Like we always say, solve one tough people issue per quarter and your business will start to improve greatly. That's about all I have, Brenda, for my part of the presentation. What is there anything that you want to add before we sign off? And
Well, once again, I want to thank you for helping us. I think this is just wonderful information for our audience. You've been a big help to the Brynka team. We're so excited to get to see you in a couple days, which I'm very excited about.
Me too.
But I also want to make sure that everyone remembers the next one is going to be core values that mean something, June 8th. But we're going to have Denise back with us, and what gets measured gets improved. And this is something that I have, it's just our new, what we call scorecard, which Denise is going to explain, has been over the years just tightened, improved, and tightened and improved. And I think everyone on this really needs to remember what gets measured gets improved. It's August 8th, Thursday, 3 o'clock. And again, I'll see you soon. And we'll be on the Brynka Beacon together again, August 8th. Thanks again.
You're welcome. I am so looking forward to it, and I can't wait to participate live. So again, my heartfelt apology for having to do this pre-recorded session. I know it's going to add so much value to your audience, and I am really looking forward to seeing everybody live on August 8th. So take care, Brenda, and I'll see you in just a few days.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Go ahead, Todd. We kind of ran over. So I think I just wanted to show, go one more ahead. Okay, again, this is the registration. You can register for any or all of these webinars that are going on. This webinar will be available to view. I strongly recommend for you to view it with your manager or their manager. This is a really good component when you're talking about your people. And the core values I'm very excited about. So June 8th, bring your core values, and we're going to have a little bit more panelists and others that'll talk about their core values and how they actually got to those core values. So see you in a few months. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you for your comments, everyone. Take care.